had no real plans to film or record or anything like that today. I'm still on winter break. I kind of go on a hiatus, like a beaver or a groundhog or a bear. I don't know. I kind of hibernate for a few weeks while my kids are home. And also, I am supposedly positive for COVID. I don't know. I took like 3 at-home tests and they all said positive, and my oldest son has a positive. So I have been talking a lot about goals on Instagram, and I had someone who was like, hey, can you share these goals? Like when people were submitting their goals, she was like, can you share these goals? Because I need some inspiration. And then I had another person who was like, I had a baby 12 days ago, and I really don't even know where to start when it comes to setting goals. So I couldn't let the first of the year go by without filming this, because I have been setting goals for my business and my life for years now, and mostly hitting them, not always, but mostly hitting them. And I have seen so many people set goals that are completely unreachable and that they can't hit and all the things. And so I thought it would be fun to do, a little chat here about the best way to set goals. There's really only like 4 steps. It's not hard, and it will help you set goals you can actually reach. So if you're like, oh, I need to set goals for the new year, here you go. So what's up? I'm Jessica. If you're new here, what is up? Hi, howdy, hey. I'm a bit of a productivity and tech and business strategy nerd. So if you're here for those types of things, make sure you hit subscribe, but we'll just jump into it. I'm actually going to release this as an audio version on my podcast as like a bonus too, because those of you watching the video, if you don't know, I have a podcast. It's called the Hey Jessica Podcast. And this year, during the month of December and really into a few weeks into January, I am playing best of episodes. So basically there are no new episodes. It is just like, what is the best of the podcast. But again, I feel like I can't let the first of the year go by without talking about this. So that's really what I want to talk about today, is kind of this 4-step process to setting goals so that you can set yourself up in 2022 and beyond with some amazing goals that you can actually hit, right? So first things first, you need to set SMART goals. And when I say SMART, I do not mean just like smart like the word. I mean SMART like the acronym. Now, I don't know where this acronym came from. It is a very commonly used thing. I don't know who first created it. It wasn't me. I'm not taking credit for it. But it is an acronym which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay? So SMART goals literally have a purpose. The S is specific. Be specific. B-E specific. B-E-S-P-E-C-I-F-I-C. Be specific, okay? So you want to be specific. You don't want to be like, I want more website traffic, or I want more subscribers on YouTube, or I want to lose weight. Right? I want to exercise more. Those are not specific goals. Being specific with your goal means putting a number on it. I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to gain 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I forget what examples I used. Sorry. But I want to get my website to be, 10,000 visitors a month or whatever. Okay. So be specific. Be specific. The M in SMART stands for measurable. These need to be things you can actually say, I can measure my process or my progress throughout this goal. I feel like this goes hand in hand with being specific and setting a number on it, because you need to make sure it is measurable. So if you want to say something like, oh, I want more engagement on Instagram. What does that even mean? Set a measurable analytic that you can look at to see whether you are hitting that goal or getting towards it, right? So instead of, I want more engagement on Instagram, say something like, I want to get my story views from 10% of my audience seeing them to 30% of my audience seeing them. So that is a measurable goal. You are actually going after a goal that has a number to it and is measurable, okay? This next one, the A in SMART, is probably my favorite part of this because I feel like this is such a big problem for people. The A stands for attainable. So many times, especially like entrepreneurs, but also just anybody setting any goal, they'll just throw a thing out. Like, I want to lose 100 pounds, or I want to get to 100,000 subscribers and I'm at 100 subscribers, or whatever the scenario is. And in those like really big goals, I want you to set big goals, but I also want you to set attainable goals. And how you know if they're attainable is based on past behavior. If you don't have any past behavior to base the attainable-ism in, then, look at other people who've maybe done something similar and see what might be attainable for you. So, if we're thinking about losing weight, right? If we're like, okay, I want to lose 100 pounds in the year. A safe number of pounds to lose per week is about 2 pounds a week. And if you do the math on that, it's going to take you 50 weeks if you do perfectly to lose that 100 pounds. So while that might be mathematically attainable, you're going to have weeks where you can't work out or where you fall off the wagon or like whatever. So maybe you back that goal up and you want to lose 80 pounds this year and make it a bit more attainable, right? Y'all, I'm going to be honest here. I've had lose weight on my goal list for a while, but what works best for me is setting goals that are going to cause weight loss, but aren't directly related to them. Now, I'll talk more about this in our phase 2 of our setting our goals. But for me, something attainable is more like working out 4 days a week consistently all year, or eating healthy 80% of the time, or whatever the scenario is, right? So instead of being like, I want to lose X amount of weight, it's more about the lifestyle choices that I make that are going to lead that way, right? And for me, working out is not the problem. I work out all the time. I literally work out 5 to 6 days a week now. So for me, it's more my eating habits. And so I might set goals around that and make it more attainable and kind of remove the number from the weight loss goal, because I don't know what is attainable anymore for me at my age, or, whatever the scenario is, right? So you want to set big goals, but you want them to be attainable. You want them to be reachable. You want them to be based in truth, okay? Based in realism. You don't want them to be off the wall, so far gone that they can't happen, So the R, I don't know how to make an R. The R in SMART is realistic. And honestly, this again goes kind of hand in hand with attainable, but realistic is, is it realistic? Can you actually do that? So when you're looking at attainable, and let's say you want to get to 100,000 subscribers this year on YouTube, or you want to make $100,000, and you're looking at it and you're like, that is attainable. I can totally do that if I do X, Y, and Z. But then when you look at it from a realistic lens, so maybe that means that you have to have 10 more clients than you normally have going at once. And you could do it. It is attainable, but you don't know for sure that it's realistic. So be a realist. If it can't happen, then just say it can't happen and set the goal down a little bit further. If it's going to cause you to completely overwork yourself or your team, or whatever the scenario is, maybe it's not realistic even if the math works out. And then lastly, the T. T, my cheerleader T. You want a T? Give me a T. Okay, lastly, the T is to make it be time bound. Give yourself a time limit. So when you're looking at goals, and let's say it is, I want to lose 40 pounds, right? And you look at it and you're like, I'd really like to lose 40 pounds by September, okay? And you're looking at the numbers and you're like, I could realistically do that. I could realistically do it. It is attainable. I can do that. And I'm going to give myself a deadline of a time frame. Same thing with business goals, right? If you're like, oh, I want to make $100,000 by the end of the year, that is a time-bound goal, right? So make sure you set a time to everything, okay? So make sure your goals are SMART. That is step number 1. And if you have a hard time remembering that, just Google SMART goals. You will find it because it is not a new concept. Now, phase 2 to planning good goals and like making good goals is actually kind of an add-on to phase 1, but it's something that I think is so important, and that is to add a why to your SMART goals. Instead of SMART goals, they're SMARTY goals. Add a why, okay? And what I mean by that is, why are you doing it? Your why needs to be rooted in something that is way more personal to you and way more special or important to you than some just frivolous number, right? So each goal you set, while it has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound, it also needs to have a why attached to it. If you want to make $100,000 this year, that is totally fine. But like, why? What is the why? Why do you need to make that money? Why do you want to make that money? And it can't just be because I do, right? Like, put a why behind it. So if my goal is to make, let's say, $1 million this year, okay? And I just throw that out there and I go through the SMART part of it, and it's all of those things and everything checks out, but I don't have a why behind it. I don't have like a reason that I want to make $1 million. I'm probably not going to try that hard, right? But if I have a reason, like if I'm like, okay, well, if I look at my $1 million goal, right? And, I need $250,000 to live the way I choose to live and to pay my team. Let's say that's what I need. So the extra, what is that? 750,000? Like, what is my why behind that? And maybe my why is that I want to add new team members, or I want to expand the business, or maybe they're personal goals and I want to buy a second home somewhere, or I want to pay off all of our debt, or like whatever the scenario is, right? But those deeply rooted whys, that is what you need. So when you're looking at number goals, you're looking at, I want to make $100,000. I want 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. I want, whatever the scenario is. Why? Like, why do you want that? What is that going to do? Because your why is going to have to be way more rooted in, something you really care about than just, I want to make that money, or I want to hit that number. The same goes for weight loss. Okay, listen. After I had my second son, I lost a lot of weight. Like, too much weight, but a lot of weight, okay? I lost, we're talking, with pregnancy weight and everything, like 75 or 80 pounds, okay? And I did all of that in about a year, I'd say, like right around a year. But the thing was, it was a SMART goal. It was specific. It was measurable. It was attainable. It was realistic. It was time-bound, right? But the real reason I did it, the real reason that I stuck to my guns, I worked out, I ate, however I ate, or like whatever, is because of the why behind that goal. We were going to Hawaii when my son was 14 months old, and I was absolutely gonna wear a bikini and look great, right? Like, that was like the why behind it. I was like, I don't want to look back at these pictures and be like, wow, I wish I looked better, which is a terrible thing that like we can't just look at pictures and be like, I look awesome, regardless of our weight. But it is just the way it is, right? So that was the why behind it, is I really wanted to, feel good in the pictures we took in Hawaii, and feel good in Hawaii, and feel good in a bathing suit in Hawaii, because I knew it would be something I was doing regularly while we were there. I mean, I was in a bathing suit like every day, right? So that was the why behind losing the weight that time. And I think that that's been part of the reason it's been harder for me to lose it again, which I don't have quite as much to lose this time. But like, while I know what to do, and I can do it, and I can make myself do it, and everything is like realistic, and I can set time-bound goals. So far, I have yet to find a why that really just drives me to the point of passion, So it's like, I keep telling my husband, I'm like, we need to book another trip to Hawaii, because I know I'm going to lose the weight if I do that. And yeah, like, so the why behind your goals is very freaking important. It's probably more important than anything else. So add a why to Smarty, and I'm going to, do a little pun and play on words with the letter Y. So make it Smarty, not SMART goals, so that you can add a Y to your SMART goals, okay? Add a Y, have a really deep reason why you want to hit those goals. Because if there's a stretch goal, like if there are goals that are attainable, are realistic, but they're pretty, like you're going to have to work hard to hit them. You're going to have to be motivated by something more than just, that is my goal, to hit them. Now, maybe not everybody, if there are people in this world who can like set goals and they just hit them because they set them. I am not one of those people, and I would say that most people aren't. So add a why to every single last one of your goals. And at the end of this video, by the way, I'm going to talk about my goals, like what they are. And I'll just explain to you like the why behind everything. Okay, now the real key, once you have decided on your goals, based on them being SMART goals, based on them having a why, the real key to hitting those goals is to reverse engineer them. This is where people mess up. They have SMART goals, they have a why, everything is like in their court, and then they don't know how to like reverse engineer everything to make it happen. So if you want to make $100,000, right? If you want to make $100,000 and you're time bound by the end of the year, you want to make $100,000 in 2022. Right? So if that is your goal, then just having it sitting out there, you have a big why and whatever, and just going on about your normal business is not going to help you hit that goal. What you need to do is see, what does that mean? You know, how much do I need to make per month to hit $100,000? Maybe you have like a big project that you're working on and you're doing a big launch that you know will bring in a lot of money, and you know that that's going to happen in like June, and maybe your goal for that is $50,000. So then you look at it and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to make $50,000 in June, so I only need to make $50,000 the other 11 months of, you know, like collectively of the year. So what is 50,000 divided by 11 months? And that's how much I need to make each month in addition to this big month I'm going to have in June. So you want to reverse engineer every goal and see what you need to be doing each month, each quarter, each week, each day to like get you towards that. So if the goal again is $1 million, and you look at it and you're like, okay, well, I have these, 4 big launches this year, and each of these launches will hopefully make me, let's say, $100,000. You're left with $600,000 still left to make throughout the year. And how are you going to do it? Right? And so reverse engineer everything. Plan it out by the quarter, the week, the month, like however you need to plan it out, and then figure out what it takes to get there. So if you're like, okay, I want to make $100,000 a year, and that's 83.33 a month or whatever, and you're like, okay, great, but you don't have a plan on how you're going to hit 83.33 a month, then you're still not going to hit that goal. You've reverse engineered the numbers, but you don't know the actions that it's going to take to get you to that point. So maybe you're a service-based business or whatever, and you're like, okay, I need to make 83.33 a month, and each of my clients pays me $2,100 a month, which means, basic simple math, I need 4 clients per month to get me to my goal. That's attainable. That's reachable. You can do that. If you're more someone who's making YouTube videos or selling more passive products, maybe you have a $1,000 course or you have a $25 ebook or whatever, do the math on how much of everything you have to sell to hit those goal numbers throughout the year. So reverse engineer your goal into bite-sized goals. So it's like $100,000 a year. That's a lot of money, and that's a lot to think about. But if you reverse engineer it and it's $8,300 a month, then you can be like, oh, that's way more like small, and I can really think through how I'm going to do that. And the fourth phase to actually setting and then hitting your goals is to do check-ins with yourself. If you are basing the income you're going to make, the weight you're going to lose, like whatever, on like a month-to-month basis. Like I want to lose, 50 pounds by the end of the year. That means you need to lose about a little over 4 pounds a month. So do regular check-ins every month. Did I lose that 4 pounds? What did I do? What could I do differently? What didn't I do? Where could I improve? Right? And the same thing goes with business goals. If you want to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you know that means you need to gain about, let's say, 5,000 a month. I don't know where you're starting, but let's say that's the math on it, then you need to set regular check-ins every month and be like, did I hit that 5,000 subscriber number? If I did, where did they come from? What videos were driving them the most? Can I do more of those videos? How can I double down on this? If I didn't, all of those same things apply, right? Like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What can I increase? What can I make happen, right? To make those things happen. So regardless of your goal, if you have set it specifically and measurably, you should be able to reverse engineer it and then do monthly, weekly, quarterly, like whatever the scenario is, check-ins to make sure you're going towards that goal. So yeah, that's how you set goals, and actually set goals that are reachable and attainable, and that you are definitely going to hit by the end of the year or whatever your time frame is. Because New Year's resolutions are great, but that's why they fail. That's why they fail, is because they're not SMART goals. They don't have a why behind them. They're just kind of there. Everybody's just like, I want to lose weight. I want to whatever. I want to start a YouTube channel. Like, I want to all of these things, but they don't set specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound restrictions around everything, and they don't have a real why behind it. Like, why do you want to start a YouTube channel? What is the reason? What is the purpose? Why do you want to do that? So if you will use these tips, you will be able to set goals that'll actually work for you. I swear, I promise. Losing weight is a hard one because what works for one doesn't work for another, or, sometimes we don't have a big enough why, and we really need to dig deeper into that. And the same thing goes for, money. Like, if you're like, oh, I want to make $100,000, and you figured out your why behind it, like, 30 of that really needs to go into our family's account to help pay the bills or whatever the scenario is. 10 of that's going to help me hire help. And then the other is going to go towards paying off debt. But you realize that you're not hitting it, or you're not doing the things you need to do to get to those goals. Then maybe your why isn't big enough. Maybe it just isn't big enough, and you can and should attach a bigger why to the goal. So I want to talk through some of my goals. I'm not going to tell you all of them, but I just kind of want to chat through them because I want to explain how they're like SMART goals, right? So my income goal this year, which I'm not really going to share, but my income goal this year is based in smartness and has a why behind it. Part of the reason I want to hit this income number is, one, to sustain my lifestyle the way it is, to pay my team, to be able to give my team a raise, to be able to give myself a raise, right? Like, hit all of these numbers. But I also want to be able to, substantially contribute to paying off our debt and buying a second home that we can use as like a short-term rental. It is a SMART goal. It is attainable. It is something that is based in realism. I know I can hit that based on previous years. I just know I have to do things a little bit differently, or whatever the scenario is. So like every year I have lose the weight on my goal list, and I need to lose about 40 pounds, 45. And so for me, I have broken that down into smaller goals. And so this is something I've been working on. I actually lost 12 pounds recently, which is great. This is something I've been working on. And one of my big time specific things is that I want to lose a certain amount of that by the time I go to Social Media Marketing World to speak in March. And that is my why behind that, is because I want to feel good in those pictures. I want to feel like I did my best, and I want to feel like I can share those pictures without any kind of I hate these. You know what I mean? So while I'm not setting time specific goal for March to lose 40 pounds, I am breaking that down into a smaller goal by reverse engineering to know what I can realistically lose by the time I go. I want to hit 300,000 YouTube subscribers this year. So you may look at my channel and be like, you've got 122,000. And you may also look at my channel and be like, wow, you haven't grown much this year. And in both scenarios, you would be correct. And so for me to say I want to hit 300,000 subscribers on YouTube is a really big goal. But it is based in realism. It is based in attainability. I can absolutely do that, and I know what it takes to get to that point, and I just have to break that down into smaller goals. So something for me that is going to be measurable there is going to be, I know that in order to do that, I need to be uploading more. I need to really increase my production value. I really need to be paying attention to what my audience wants and what I want to be creating. And so part of how I'm going to do that is by producing more videos this year. So that's a measurable thing. Every month I can check in and be like, did I do 2 videos a week this week? Were they highly researched and, something that people are going to care about? So all of these things, I can check in with that, and I can adjust that goal if I see it's not going to happen. I can be like, okay, maybe I wasn't realistic about it. And, mid-year be like, well, okay, I would be okay if I hit 200,000 or 250,000 or whatever the scenario is. Okay. I have some launch goals that are tied to my revenue that I'm not really going to share. One of my goals is to read, and this is going to sound insane because so many people will set these huge goals around reading. They'll be like, I want to read a book a week all year. And that's 52 books, and that's a lot of books, right? I want to read 15 books this year. So I used to easily read 10 to 15 books a year for sure. I listen to my books. I like audiobooks. And I absolutely used to hit that no problem every single year. But I was traveling a lot. And so I would listen to those books as I would drive to the airport, because y'all know I'm 3 hours from an airport. I'd drive to the airport and then I'd be on the plane and then I'd be whatever. And then I'd have to drive home. And it was really easy for me to finish audiobooks. And since COVID hit, it's a lot harder for me to do that because I'm not going to sit and ignore my family and put a book in my ears. And I don't travel a lot or drive by myself a lot anymore. More than 15 minutes to the grocery store. So setting a goal of 15 is, it's not pushing myself a ton, but it's setting these a realistic measure of what I can do. And I may even have to do physical books rather than audiobooks, and I'll figure that out as I go. But one of my goals is definitely reading 15 books in 2022. And I don't read fiction, so they're all going to be nonfiction, business, personal development, that kind of thing. I want to be on 25 podcasts this year. So again, I have a podcast. That's part of the reason I'm recording with this mic in my face. I'm going to double this video up as a podcast episode. But I have a podcast, and I am asked to be on other people's podcasts quite a bit. And I do generally say yes when people ask me to be on their podcast, but it hasn't been something I've really focused on, to be on other people's podcasts. And that is something I want to do this year, is to really be a guest on at least 25 podcasts. And the why behind that is because I know that every time I'm on someone else's podcast, that is me being exposed to an audience that I wouldn't have had before. So then my audience grows, and when my audience grows, my income grows, and that's going to contribute to my goals of my income or my launches or whatever the scenario is. And I have some other random goals, but we'll just leave it at that because they're boring and it doesn't matter. But you can see how I set all of those in a smart goal way. There's a why behind them all. There's a really good reason I want to hit my certain income level. There is a really good reason I want to hit a certain number of subscribers on YouTube. All of these things are based in the smart thing and then also have a why behind them. So I really encourage you, when you're setting goals this year, if you've already set them, go back and apply this to them. Are they smart? Do you have a why? Can you break them down? Are you going to do check-ins with yourself? Go ahead and apply this to the goals you've already set, and maybe you have to change them. But if you've not set goals, hopefully this helps you get started on what that looks like and what this even means and, whatever else. Hopefully that 4-step process to setting and actually hitting goals is going to help you in the new year. And remember that you don't have to start setting goals on January 1st. You can set goals anytime throughout the year. You can adjust these goals. Nobody is going to come and get you if you don't hit them. But, making promises to yourself is always a good thing to, do, and then also hold up your end of the deal on. So hopefully this helps. Like I say, this video was absolutely not planned, so I'm going to push it out in front of some others I've got already filmed and ready. And Happy New Year. I hope it was great and you weren't quarantined with COVID like I am, even though I'm not sure I have COVID. But here we are. I would also love to hear your goals down below in the comments. If you want to share any of your big goals for the year, I'd love to hear them. And it will help people, be able to set their own goals, because I think sometimes we don't really know what to set. We're not I don't know what goals to have. And sometimes seeing other people's goals or hearing other people's goals really helps us. So go ahead and share those down below in the comments, and I will be back soon. Bye, y'all.